Yeah, so the earliest time I can remember is like um being with my mom and my dad, and everything was crazy. I mean, I remember them being happy, or at least pretending like they was happy for us. Yeah, when you call, I just found it. But it was something I thought that was, I don't know. I don't ever remember them moving out, or me knowing what happened. As far as I knew, when they were around each other, they were still together. I mean, as far as they know, my mom would talk to him about us. Like, I don't know, my dad would always ask my mom like detailed questions about us and stuff. And I can't remember ever seeing them pretend like they were. I never seen them argue, or I don't know. I somehow thought they was all still together. I never connected us living somewhere different, because when I was with my mom, we used to being with her. But when I was with my dad, it was like he showed me and my sister the same love, like we had never left. But I remember him teaching me how to ride a bike. He bought me a bike on Christmas, and he put it together, and I was excited about it. But I had the training wheels on, but something was wrong with them, like they was too short or something. And he was like, "Well, you can ride them without the training wheels." And I was like, "I don't know if I can. I can ride without the training wheels." And he showed me how to ride, and he told me to just get on and keep pedaling, and don't stop pedaling, and just stay. And he used to always have us exercising, and just perfect role model. I mean, as far as I knew, I mean, I remember one time, the only time I can remember getting beat like real bad by him was one time he we used to stay at his friend's house. It was another guy, I guess he knew, and we knew him from staying at his house, but he was like a very I guess not too much of a kid guy. Well, he didn't talk to kids like I guess like our parents used to talk to us, and for some reason I had trouble feeling comfortable around people who couldn't level with me. So it's like I seen him grab some money out of um a jar. It was like a coin collector thing type thing, and I seen it, and I wanted the money so I could buy things. And so I took it. I didn't even know what I was gonna buy with it. I didn't have anything planned, but I just took it. And the guy came back, and he figured out that I had took the money, and he asked me why I take it, and I was told him because I wanted it to buy something, and he was like, "Well, why didn't you ask me for it?" And I was like, "I don't know, I didn't think about it. I never really asked for anything. I always was either given it by my parents when I wanted it, or I was told that I couldn't get it because we had to save for something else or to do something else. So I was aware of the fact that I couldn't get what I wanted because we needed money, and I guess that's why I connected that with just I guess wanting to have what was just seemed to be everywhere to me. To me, everybody had it, but we just didn't have it. It was, I don't know. I remember my mom, she used to do everything for us. Like she made sure we had like the youngest memory I can remember is something that you wouldn't that I didn't even connect to together until I got older. But I remember we used to stay in this apartment, and I think it was like Rosemont Apartments, and some of the cheaper apartments, and but our house was always nice, and I remember my auntie and my cousin stayed up the street, and we'd go to chill with my cousins sometimes, and I play with them. And one time we were playing, and I picked up a pipe just off instincts, and he got hit in the head with it. And I realized that I had done it, but I didn't do it on purpose. But he thought I did, and he was mad at me. I don't know if he's still mad at me to this day, but we just used to do random crazy shit, like pee in the pipe and then try to pick it up. And I remember some nights we would get watched by somebody while my mom went to work. But I remember one night where no one was there. I guess my mom put us to sleep before she left. And we woke up in the middle of the night and she wasn't there. And my sister apparently knew that if we wanted to talk to her that we could call this number on this card. And I didn't know how to use the phone, but my sister taught me, and I later used the phone to dial 911. But that was a funny story too. I'm gonna tell that one. But my sister called and she was like, "Can I speak to Brown Sugar?" And I remember back then everybody used to call my mom Brown Sugar. But I never realized that she was working in strip club. And I realize now that she did that because that's what she knew. All she knew was she had to take care of us, and that was it. She wasn't the type of person that brought a lot of people to the house. She just some females I know, and that was it. Besides her boyfriend that used to put his hands on her, but I remember one night I fell out of bed. I guess I had a nightmare or something and rolled out of bed and fell and hit my head and off the top bunk. I didn't know what had happened until felt pain in my sleep, but actually I had been laying there for a minute before I actually felt it. And my mom said she came in and saw me uh, fall and hit the floor on the concrete and didn't move, which I was still asleep. But she thought I was dead, so she called 911, and I got up crying, and I didn't know why my head hurt, but I just knew that she was scared, and I didn't know why. At the time, I didn't know. I didn't recollect, falling or any of that, so I didn't know how I got in my bed. I just knew my head hurt. And she talked to me and told me that everything was okay and that I could sleep with her. And police came to ask me my address and if I knew where I stayed at and how old was I and what was I born and what was my mom's name, just to see whether I had a concussion. But it's like my mom, she was always loving and caring, and she used to tell us things that normal parents wouldn't tell their kids, but she told us because she knew that we weren't normal. We weren't going to be normal when we weren't going to be considered normal. I think she was leading up to actually talking about telling us the situation that we were poor, but I mean, at that time, everyone we stayed around was poor, so it wasn't too much that the other kid had that I didn't have. But being that my mom was so caring with me because I was a baby, I was a little more sensitive than my sister, and I used to. My sister used to get mad at me a lot because I used to aggravate her, but I only did it because I wanted to play, and that was my way of playing. And she didn't never want to play with me, so I just play with her stuff and pop the head off her dolls and stuff, boys do, being destructive. But when we did get along, we were close. Like I remember when we were little, we were close. When me being the baby and going to mama all the time didn't get in the way of us or me aggravating her. And I remember my dad used to my mom used to tell her that I was the baby and that she should act more mature and be a big sister and teach me things. And she kind of tried to sometimes when I let her. Like she taught me how to braid when I was little, because I asked her how she braided her doll's hair, and that's why I knew that. And we weren't very interactive, but we took care of each other. Like we might not play together, but she took care of me. Like if she was hungry, she made me a syrup sandwich, and I remember eating syrup sandwiches and oatmeal, and sometimes that would be all we had, but we enjoyed those syrup sandwiches and oatmeal. And we also had shared a love for potato chips. And I remember we used to go around the house collecting pennies like a little game, see who can find 99 pennies, or a dollar and one penny, 101 pennies, and we go to the store and get a bag of potato chips, dill pickle, golden flakes. But over the years, me and my sister, like, being that we were separated for that little time when my real dad took me, we still had love for each other, and we still grew up together, so we still knew each other. But us being in separate places kind of broke our bond a little. So when that was a point in my life where my sister, I wanted to be what she was, because she was my big sister. And she was more searching for her own independence because she was no longer getting attention from my mom that she felt like she deserved, and that I took all of it, and it was always on my side. And I think the thing I regret the most out of all the things I did to aggravate it was one time we were cleaning up, and she wanted to clean the house so my mom would, you know, enjoy. I guess it was something we were doing for my mom. And so I was spraying the spray, and I sprayed the TV inside the TV, like at the TV. I sprayed it at the TV, but I didn't know that it was gonna break the TV, and my mom found out, and I was too scared to say I did it. And so she said, she basically told my mom that I had done it, that she didn't do it, and she didn't know what happened. And I was the baby, so me being afraid of getting a whooping, I immediately bust out crying and said, no, I didn't do it, she did it. Crying, knowing mama gonna believe me, because mama always believed the baby. And so I feel like in a situation like that where you don't know which kid did it, you shouldn't automatically go with the one that is crying hard, because that might just mean they scared of the whipping. I mean, I really don't agree with whipping, because I believe there's a better way of getting across the same piece of information. I get where it came from. It came from slavery, and it's something we adapted into our culture, but it's something that I feel like has a negative effect on our children, because even though they learn that they're not supposed to do that, that leads to violence against their parents when they get older. When they get tired of you whooping them for the wrong reasons, or they feel like they're growing out the shoes, then they turn on you. That's what happened with my sister and my mom when I was 15. Uh, my mom told her not to do something, or something that was arguing about. I can't even remember. But all I remember is I seen her go up like she was gonna hit my mom, and my mom just, my mom stood there, and when her fist made contact, my mom put it on her, and they was fighting like cats, but my mom won, and she she got, I ain't pretty angry. My mom was pretty angry. She called my dad, and my dad came and he got her. But my dad always felt like, I guess, like my mom was the reason that we were going through all we were going through, because he felt like we should be a family, and that we shouldn't have to go what we were going through, but we were going through it because I guess my mom wanted to be, assert her own independence, being, feeling on her own. And from what my dad has told me, like, which I believe my dad is pretty honest, was that when he told me about my dad, he was like, one time he bumped into my dad, and that was when he found out that he was the one who had got her pregnant, and he was like, he approached him and asked him was he he I can't remember how the story went, but all he told me was that he almost got to fight with him, and which I think with my real biological father, it was always a pride issue for him because I think to have another dude, I guess when you're younger it don't affect you, but I guess as you get older and you don't have any kids and you thinking about your firstborn son, which he had with a German woman that he, um, from what my mom told me and other people, was that they had a domestic violence issue and he threatened to throw in the Chattahoochee River, and um, she left and went back to Germany. And so he's never met my brother, and I've never met my brother, and I'm sure that was best for both of them because I think he might have been traumatized from like his something his father did to him, but he just was not conducive. I don't even know if that's the right word, but he was not, to me, mentally all there. And it was because, like, around the time that he got pregnant with me, he was in the military. And so it's funny that I joined the military, but even though I never really had a close relationship with him, I wanted to have a close relationship with him. I just felt like that he always treated his stepdaughter, like she was good as gold, and I was just, I guess, his mistake. I take it. That's how I look at it. And so, in me trying to live up to his expectations and not only live up to his expectations, but prove his wife wrong and prove his mom wrong, her mom wrong, which I'm sure he wanted me to do as well. I wanted to do it for personal reasons, but I know he wanted me to do it so he could say that he knew that he was right about me. He still take up for me on that, but that's about it. I guess that and other issues that I will discuss in a later show had a big impact on the way I thought when I got older. Because as the situation got worse, I began to rebel more and more because I didn't feel like I was being treated fairly, and I don't feel like I was given the proper opportunities to prove myself. And when I did make good grades, it was like it was always, well, it could have been an A, well, it could have been this, well, it could have been that. well, it could have been F. And then I just felt like nothing was good enough. If I tried my hardest, it was like I was always so scared of disappointing him, because it was like with disappointment came a whipping and a look and a lecture. And I actually got suspended sometimes so I could be at home and with him. Even though he was mad at me the whole time I was at home, but I got to see him. It wasn't just people I didn't know and people who didn't have any obligation to treat me fairly. And I think he kind of knew that sometimes after a minute anyway, because I get suspended and he'd tell me to stay out of trouble, and for some reason stay out of trouble was just too hard for me to say it, and for me to think about it all day. It was like saying get in trouble. But if he didn't say it, I didn't get in trouble because I didn't think about it. I don't know. It's kind of weird how that worked out. It's, but it's like as I start rebelling more, they start stereotyping me more and just cutting me off basically. Um, it was like their love was conditional. It wasn't, oh, we love you because you're an addition to our family and we want you to be in our family. It was like, no, if you're not making good grades and you're not trying to study and learn what we want you to learn, then you're not welcome, basically. That's how I felt. And so, and feeling unwelcome and missing my mom so much and feeling like everything I was doing was wrong and getting whooped and constantly criticized and sometimes lied on and whooped and sometimes just completely treated like shit because of it's like everything that would go down between them, it get taken out on me, and yeah, I get in some trouble in school and they'll arguing about me, and it was just like I was the big problem. But I just wanted to be somewhere where I was accepted. That's it. I just wanted to feel like I was accepted by anyone. And so at school, I was the outcast, not because I wasn't cool, because actually I was more hood than anyone in the school, but I dressed like a white boy, but not a nice dressed white boy, but a poor white boy. Like I go to school and I think I went to school the same shirt like 2 years in a row. That's something that with my mom would have never happened. I would have always had new clothes like every 3 months. And that's just something they didn't believe in, or at least not for me. They felt like, I guess, that if I wore name brand shoes that I would fall into with the wrong crowd, but that was actually the opposite. I actually fell in with the wrong crowd by not being allowed to express myself and creativity. And it's just turned into me acting out even more, to me trying to stand out as an individual, me asserting my independence, and that just became my way of fun. I wouldn't have fun at home, so I have fun in school, and teachers would get aggravated with me, and why do you act out like this, and they just write me off, whether I learned or not. That wasn't their problem. They didn't see that I was acting out for attention, that I wasn't getting, that I was getting from other students, from acting stupid and crazy, and they might not like me, but they would at least laugh at my jokes every now and then. And then I started writing poetry when I really get upset, and that helped me get everything out that I couldn't say to anyone, because not only did I not know how to talk about the situations that I was going through, because like my parents were the only ones I had ever talked to, but I was afraid to talk to my dad, or confront him about the situation, or what they would do, because I felt like he was automatically gonna take their side, or when I did, it's like they lie about it, and I get treated worse by them. Like, so I felt like basically I was in that house and I was unwanted, and that's how I felt. Like, it got to the point where like I couldn't. I was never allowed to see my mom or anybody from my side of the family, so I was I'm not allowed to talk on the phone, and I wasn't allowed to roam as I pleased. I was always asked where I was going, like uh inmate, basically. I felt like I was in prison. Sometimes I couldn't watch TV, and they give me games for Christmas and stuff and take them back, and it got to the point where I didn't even see what was the point in getting gifts, because I get them and I know that they were going to be taken eventually. And if I did work to get them back, it was like temporary. It was always punishment for not being accepted. That's how I felt, and that's how I walked to school. I was accepted by some people, but I always looked to please everybody for some reason. I always wanted to be one of the cool kids with the the fresh J's and get girls, and I mean girls would talk to me, but I would avoid girls because I knew that I couldn't have a relationship with them. I mean, most kids that age are going out to the movies and talking to girls on the phone, and at least out interacting with some type of female. Me, I think the first female interaction I had was my friend dared me to slap this girl on the butt. Her name was Shelby. It was a white girl, and I was like, fuck it. So I did it, and I took off running. Like, I was so scared of getting in trouble, and she was gonna tell somebody, and I was gonna be in the principal's office, and I just knew I had fell under peer pressure, and back then it was all peer pressure. That's what I reacted off of, because I felt like that was the way to get accepted, was to do what everybody else was doing, who was like I wanted to be or like I remembered being before. And so I ended up hanging out with the bad kids, kids that were either depressed or had some issues, or I get Saturday school and have to. I never really got being getting beat. I never really got why you would get a whooping for being uneducated in a situation. Like I just didn't get that. I could see like if you sit down with your kids and then find the root of why they do what they do and then solve the problem, but to beat a kid for acting out when you're causing the problem causes significant emotional issues that have to be worked out later on down the line. Now, I feel like anytime I'm someone yells at me or raises their voice, I get offended. Not because that they intend to offend me, but my dad, he was in the military, and so he raised his voice when he was mad. And my mom never raised her voice when she was mad, or my who I consider to be my real father, he never raised his voice at me. He talked stern, but he never raised his voice. He would say something, and I knew he meant it because of the sternness he would have in his voice. But this was a new feeling of yelling, getting yelled at, and it just became a big house thing. Like her mom would yell, and my dad would yell, and it just became like I get yelled at, and it shocked the hell out of me because I never been yelled at before. So to be yelled at by him was to me disappointment in me because my father who raised me never yelled. He never raised his voice. And that's what you have to take into consideration when you take a child from one environment to another one. You can't just assume that the way you discipline a child is the way everybody disciplines their children. And if you never been with your child or around your child for a long time and then just come into his life, it wouldn't be good to yell at him. I don't think it would be good to yell at him. That just made me feel worse on top of worse. And sometimes it'd be to the point where he'd be yelling to the top of his lungs and she'd be yelling, and that's just not a polite sound for children to hear as a grown man yelling at the top of his lungs. And that's why I don't yell, and I can't yell, and that's why I speak so lightly, because as I grew up around those people, the what they did that I didn't like, I made sure that I didn't do it. I made sure that I didn't judge people on how they looked. That's something I witnessed her mom do several times. Her the stepmom's mother, she would drive us home from school, and people that looked like I'm used to in baggy pants, and she make jokes and say that they weren't gonna be anything and probably gonna just total stereotyping, like just total stereotype. Not knowing anything about the kids or any of that. It was like that was when I first experienced like in-house racism. I felt like it was it was it was crazy to me, cause like I don't know. It's like they never even. I felt like from the moment I walked in the door that I was not what they were accustomed to, and when I didn't respond the way they wanted me to respond, and it was just, oh well, he needs to this and they made me go to church, and I started going to church, and I slowly transitioned to being someone who I felt like I was not. So I feel like I had to hide my true self, and so I hid it in poetry. And my poetry was my life, because I used to read about books. That's what I used to do when I be in my room all by myself. I read the Bible or book, and church was the first place I felt accepted. And the mother would tell people that my mom was this, and that, and that I was having problems in school, and just all kinds of. It was like I couldn't be just a normal kid there that no one knew anything about. It just had to be them pressing their issues on me to make her, I guess, her granddaughter look better than me or something, or make it look like she was helping me by bringing me there. And then as people got to know me and realized that I was an okay person, and they realized that I wasn't necessarily having the right outlet, that's when I was allowed to do certain things in the church, like puppets and things that people sat down, and that's when I started looking to God for all my answers. That was a very spiritual part of my life, and I wanted to do good, and I wanted to be great, because when my mom always tried to teach me the right things, even if she didn't always know what the right things or do the right things. She didn't let us see her flaws, but that didn't help us, because by not acknowledging that she had flaws and not allowing us to see them, we believed everything to be hunky dory, and we knew that we were not the richest people in the world, and that we didn't have everything we wanted, but we knew that our mom loved us, and that's all we cared about. And it was that love for us that she showed. It it was that motivated me to be something in life. And when I look back on it, it's the things she said to me. Like, she always told me the truth, how it was, point blank, no sugarcoating. She always gave me more credit than what other people gave me. Like, 'cause she knew me, she knew that I was smarter than I looked, or people would know from just seeing me. Like, I remember I was like maybe 4 or 5, and she taught me how to do a crossword puzzle, and that became my favorite thing to do, crossword puzzles. And I used to do them all day. It kept me occupied. That's why was a good problem solver. I was good at finding the solution to a problem or guessing math. And a lot of times, she would um, be irresponsible, but it's like she taught us how to be responsible, even though she wasn't necessarily responsible. Like, I remember I wake up in the middle of sleep and asked her could she get me something to eat, and she would say that she would get me something when she woke up. Then one day, after seeing her do it about 3 times after she woke up, I woke up and asked her if she should get me something to eat, and she was like, no, she would get it when she woke up. And I asked her, well, can I make it myself? And she was like, yeah. And so, me not thinking about the task at hand, but knowing that if my mom can do it, I could do it because I've seen it done. And that's why I felt like if I seen somebody do something, I could do it. And that's what I always went off. As a child, my parents, my mom never told me it wasn't anything I could do. I grew up wanting to be a Power Ranger, and that was cool with her if that's what I was happy with. It wasn't judgment, it was just acceptance of who I was as a person and loving me for who I was as a person. And that's what she taught me, that made me realize that I couldn't just be what everybody else was. It was that instilled in me that my mom cared about me and enough to waste miss out on her teen years and could have gave us up for abortion, but she had me, and I beat a lot of odds when I joined the military.